Where do you get this term space Hebrews from? What do you mean by that, my brother?
When you go into the ancient text, you discover that the original people, now this might, I'm going to try to put it in a way that's a little bit politically correct because I don't want to piss too many people off who are really believing in a lot of religious stuff. But from my research, the people that were called the God, or the entity that was called God in the Old Testament of the Bible, is actually a person named Enlil. And I do mean a person, not a creator of a universe. If you want any more proof of this, just go read the book of Deuteronomy and you'll see what God orders people to do: rape women and kill children and everything else. That's not a creator. But anyway, they began this genetic modification of existing peoples that were already here. These are Black people that were here already. And they decided they were going to try to manipulate them in a way to get them to do the work for them, the workload that they had, where they were doing a lot of strip mining of the planet. They were actually making this planet into like a breakaway civilization. And they decided to do some genetic modification. They didn't create human beings, but they genetically modified who would have been now our cousins. Somebody that was an existing hominid on this planet, probably more intelligent than us consciously because their skulls were bigger. We found the skulls, which means the pineal gland was probably bigger. The DNA was very similar though. But these became the chosen people of God, the people who are like the original Hebrews, which were the original Jews. Jewish people don't hail from Khazaria. Okay, Khazarians are the Caucasian Jews that inherited the faith from the Ethiopians, from the Black people. Black people are the original Hebrews, the original Jews, and their ancestors are spread out all over the planet and have been for many thousands of years. Long before slavery even existed, there were already Black people on every single corner of this planet. The Hebrews, the original Hebrews, which are the Black Jews, they still have their temples in Ethiopia, which is where I was going to go this summer before the COVID-19. I was going to go out there to see the Lalibela temples, which are the temples that they have there that are carved out of a mountain from the outside going in using technology. But they still have their temples. They still read the Torah, the original Torah. They speak Hebrew. They write, from right to left. They're the ones who taught the Khazarians the faith, and then the Khazarians took the faith and migrated with it back to Europe and spread it around Europe. Even though the Ethiopians and the Blacks are the original Hebrews, which were quote unquote God's chosen people, they still have been banned from going into Israel to this very day and living there. They've really been banned from taking their real true lineage there. But they still persist in Africa where they originated. But these space Hebrews, the reason why I call them space Hebrews is because the people that tinkered with their DNA were also, it was a race. Now, the race of these Anunnaki people are a little mixed depending on the text and the age of the text. But there's a particular race of the Anunnaki, because Anunnaki is a generalized term. It doesn't mean one specific group of people. This is what a lot of people have not learned because they haven't read all the texts. When you spread the text out from different sources, you realize that there's different races of Anunnaki. Anunnaki just means people who came from heaven to earth or from space to this planet. This one particular group, which is the ones that you see on the face of the Sphinx, for example, that is an Anunnaki. Now, whose face is on the Sphinx? Originally, it was Thoth's face, Tahuti, okay? When him and his brother kept battling, his brother's name is Marduk or Amun-Ra. Marduk is known in the Bible. He's also known as Amun-Ra as well. He's also in the Torah as well, the Jewish Torah. They started having all these battles, and Tahuti's dad said, "Look, you go to the other side of the planet. Just kickstart a new civilization over there." When he left, Amun-Ra, also known as Marduk, recarved the face of the Sphinx to his son's face. So regardless, it doesn't matter whose face it is now, it's still a direct bloodline of the Anunnaki. And you can see the face of the Sphinx. You can see the face of the huge statues at Abu Simbel. They had extremely African features, but they weren't from Earth. They definitely were not from Earth. And why do I say definitely? Because the text says they weren't from Earth, and the people who observed them said they didn't come from Earth either. So these are space people. Now, they also, according to Aboriginal history, which I just came back from Australia a couple of months ago, right before this COVID-19 took off. I got great videos and footage there you can see on my account. They also claimed, the Aboriginal elders claimed, that they were brought here by these same people and seeded on the planet. So there's an account of people being seeded on the planet, and there's also an account of people being genetically tinkered with on the planet as well. So the thing that's really interesting about this, though, is these space Hebrews. The reason why they're space Hebrews, or this lineage, is because the DNA was added to them. In other words, the essence or the DNA from these quote unquote gods, these space Hebrews, was added to the existing hominid on this planet, making a hybrid race, or a demigod race, which are a majority of the black people, a demigod race of people that have this alien DNA, as well as some of the DNA from the existing hominid, which was our cousin, making us a demigod, or a hybrid, or a little bit of the earth and a little bit of from space. One of the things that's really amazing is when you read the accounts of these beings that came here, the ones that tinkered with the people in Africa, they had spaceships, they had ships that could fly around the planet, they had satellite technology, they had all different types of weapons that were super duper advanced. And I really do believe that after evaluating a lot of that text, and then also going into some of the more modern disclosure that's come out from the US military, the reason why I think a lot of the secret about what's going on in space and a lot of these UFOs is being, suppressed, is because they don't want you to know that there's probably a lot of black people flying around in these spaceships. That's just my personal opinion. I don't think there's a lot of little green men with antennas on their head flying these ships. I tend to think that there's a lot of different groups out there, but one of the groups potentially are black people flying these ships, and they don't want you to know about that.